you're a school leader and you hear other school leaders talking about how they're using AI to make their lives a lot easier, but you don't know where to start or you don't feel tech savvy enough to use these AI tools, this is the perfect video for you because we're going to go over the 10% of the information that is going to get you 90% of the results with AI. After watching this video, you're going to know how to use AI in the right way and where it works its way into lots of different spots in your everyday workflow. To be able to very easily go over to ChatGPT and draft responses to parent concerns in just a couple of seconds. And this doesn't even scratch the surface. We're going to go over the best practices on how to use ChatGPT the right way. And then we're just going to lay out 8 different ways that it really fits into your workflow. But my name is William Groovy. I'm the founder of Groovy Education, and we deliver AI PD at all of these schools here. But I do not want to waste your time. I'm going to get straight into this document here, which is going to give you the 10% of the AI information that's going to deliver 90% of the results. We're going to go over that information and then we're going to see how it works its way into these 8 different prompts. This document is just going to be the first link in the YouTube description. So if you want a copy, you can go ahead and grab one. It's completely free. A common mistake people make when they first start using ChatGPT is talking to it like a search engine. ChatGPT is not designed to understand keyword search like Google. Gotten very used to Google searching, but when we go to ChatGPT, we want to use conversational language. We would not want to say something like teacher observation, good student engagement. That is not how we want to prompt ChatGPT. Just like how you'd be explaining the task to maybe an assistant, that is how you want to explain it to ChatGPT, which brings us to our next point. Explain the task like you would to a human. Again, it's designed to understand conversational language. You want to be clear. Tell ChatGPT all of the nuance. Hey, do this thing, but remember this, this, and this. That is the power of ChatGPT. You can feed it all of that nuance, feed it all of that context. And if you just explain the task like you would explain it to somebody else, ChatGPT is going to spit that out in just a couple of seconds with it being exactly what you are looking for. So explain the task like you would to a human. And then the next thing is our prompt design framework. So how you ask ChatGPT questions is really going to tweak what kind of responses that you get. This is the most important part to using ChatGPT. Many people think that ChatGPT is kind of like doing a Google search and then presenting you that information in a readable way. That is not how these tools work. Essentially, ChatGPT is trained off of all of the text on the internet. That's how you can think of it. But it's more text than any of us can really wrap our heads around. And then they feed it into this model. And this model is constantly trying to guess or predict what the next word should be. And then after trillions and trillions and trillions of iterations, it gets really, really good at predicting what the next word should be. So it's taking your prompt and predicting what you want to see as an output. So that is why prompting is so important. ChatGPT is just predicting what you want to see based off of your prompt. So we use the role, action, context, format framework, or the role, action, format, context, framework, structure. Those are just the 4 components to a really, really good prompt. So first off, we have the role. ChatGPT has a wider base of knowledge than any one person. So when we say act as a principal or act as a superintendent, that is just making ChatGPT much more competent as that position. It's just as helpful as a tool for an accountant as it is for you as a school leader. So giving it a role is going to make it much more competent. Principals like to see stuff like this is what principals do, etc. And then next up is the action. So first you have that role, act as a principal. Then we have the action. What should that principal do? Maybe we're creating a teacher observation. And then next up we have format. This is the next component to a really good prompt. Telling ChatGPT how we want the output to look and also how we want the output to sound. So maybe for format, I would just say, hey, create a teacher-facing report for this teacher observation. Or maybe it could be use simple and clear, straightforward wording, use positive language, things like that to really tweak how the output looks and how the output sounds. And then lastly, we have context. And this is the most important part. We always want to give ChatGPT all of the context that we have that we would put into creating whatever we want to create. So if we're creating a teacher observation, we probably want to include the notes that we took when we were observing. So we would just give ChatGPT all of that context. If we're responding to a big long email thread, we're going to want to give ChatGPT that big long email thread. So role, action, format, context. Tell ChatGPT what to act as, what action it should do, what you want the output to look like, and give ChatGPT the context that you have that you would do, that you would put into creating whatever you're asking ChatGPT to create. The more specific your prompt, the better. If you give ChatGPT a vague prompt, you are going to get a vague response. And when we talk about format and giving ChatGPT the way to output it, how you want it to look, how you want it to sound, I always say things like use simple, straightforward wording. And this is really just making ChatGPT sound more how you want it to sound. It's super, super wordy. So adding things like this is going to be very, very, very helpful. Then when it comes to context, again, we want to feed it all of the information that we have that we would put into creating whatever we're asking ChatGPT to create, whether it's a policy, an email, a plan. Again, just giving ChatGPT all of that context. And then the number one mistake people make when they're using ChatGPT is stopping at one prompt. If you go over to ChatGPT, ask it to create something, and it just creates something that you do not really like, never, ever, never stop at one prompt. Always follow it up with exactly what you didn't like about it, and you're just going to get an instantly revised version from ChatGPT. And it's through this back and forth iterative conversation with ChatGPT is where you're going to get the best results. So again, you get something you don't like, follow up, tell ChatGPT exactly what you don't like about it. You'll get something new. If you still don't like it, you could keep telling ChatGPT, hey, change this, hey, change that. It's this back and forth iterative conversation where the true power comes in with ChatGPT. You're going to want to think of it like a super excited assistant. You ask it to go do something, it runs back to you, shows you its work, and says, hey, what can I do better? You say, hey, do this better. It's going to run away, come back, show you it, and you just keep going through that cycle until it's exactly what you are looking for. Of course, usually this doesn't take a bunch. Usually it's just one follow-up prompt, but sometimes you do need a couple, and it's super helpful. But right here, this is the 10% of the information with ChatGPT that will give you 90% of the results. But now let's break down some prompts. So on the second page of this document, we're going to see 8 different prompts. We're going to break down a couple of them so you can see how you can prompt ChatGPT throughout your day to save you hours. But the first one is drafting a email response to a parent concern. So I sent through this example at the beginning of this video, but let's break down this prompt. It says act as a principal. There's our role. Again, making it much more competent as a principal and giving a ChatGPT that context on who you are and what we need to do. Then we said, hey, respond to an email from a parent concerned about too much homework. I want to tell them, and here's where we just explain to ChatGPT exactly what we would want to tell them. So we see there's square brackets in this prompt here. You can just type in, I want to tell them whatever, and you can just context dump. It doesn't have to be pretty formatted. It doesn't have to have perfect grammar, whatever. We just want to give ChatGPT all the context and let ChatGPT do the heavy work of lifting and organizing all of the context. Make sure the response does not come off-putting. There's the format, telling ChatGPT how we want the output to sound. Here's the email I'm responding to. And then we can paste that email in. This is giving ChatGPT the context. But of course, remember, never send any student names or student identifiers into ChatGPT or parent names or parent identifiers into ChatGPT. So it has a student name in it, take it out, but John Doe, Jane Doe, whatever fake name you can think of at the moment. Or if it has multiple students, student 1, student 2, student 3. Again, same goes for parent names and parent email addresses, student email addresses. Just strip whatever you're sending into ChatGPT of all of that information. But here, I sent this prompt through. It said, hey, act as a principal, respond to the parent about too much homework. I want to tell them that we are focusing on building responsibility and reinforcing learning without overwhelming students. Make sure the response doesn't come off-putting. Here's the email I'm responding to. We could copy and paste that in, and boom, we are going to get that nice formatted response in a way that does not come off-putting. And this is really just the first draft that we can use as a good template and then go in and tweak things and make things exactly what we want to make them. I always teach this good 80-20 split when we're using ChatGPT. It's great in doing that first 80% of content generation, but then we're going in and doing that last 20% of quality assurance and making it exactly what we want. So that is that first prompt there. Again, this document can be found in the YouTube description, just the first link. It's completely free, so feel free to add it. But let's read through a couple more here. So here's a good one. We're going to skip over this weekly staff memo with reminders. This one is pretty straightforward. Hey, create a staff memo for my teachers. Here's all the information to create. Give ChatGPT all that context, copy and paste things in, give ChatGPT that information. It's going to organize all of that in a nice memo that we can send out to staff. But for policy summary, here I could say, act as a principal, summarize this policy into key takeaways for whatever audience we're making the summary for. The goal is to help them understand the changes without reading the whole document. Use a list format with plain language attached as the policy document. So for something like this inside of ChatGPT, this is very, very important. But when we want to attach something onto the prompt, it's just going to be this little plus sign here. So if I wanted to do something like summarize a policy document, I could upload it from my computer. So maybe I want to grab this document, press on open, and we can see it's going to attach right onto my ChatGPT prompt. I'll just say explain the attached document, send it through, and ChatGPT can go into that document and explain it. So super, super helpful there. When we do something like this, you're just going to want to reference the document like you'd be referencing a document in an email. So just, hey, attached is the document. So there's a quick tip. Prompt 4 here is going to go over structured staff meeting agendas. So, hey, ChatGPT, create this meeting agenda. Here's all the information that needs to be included. Copy and paste, boom, boom, boom. Give ChatGPT all that context and then let ChatGPT do the heavy lifting and taking all of that and formatting it onto a meeting agenda. Here's a really good one. It creates a positive feedback compliment for a teacher. But here I included something like make it no longer than 2 sentences and have no unnecessary words. This is going to be super, super helpful for you. Ask ChatGPT to create a comment like this. You might get a big, long paragraph. So if you say, hey, no longer than 2 sentences, no unnecessary words, you can get something that's more straightforward. Here's just a fun idea in getting 10 low cost to no cost student initiative ideas, and also just doing something quick like creating a short PA announcement script for yourself. You need to make a PA announcement, just giving ChatGPT all the context and what needs to be covered and putting it together in a nice script for you. But again, these 8 prompts are in the document. That's going to be the first link in the YouTube description. But that is 10% of the information that's going to get you 90% of the results when you're using ChatGPT as a school leader. If you want to dive deeper into how to craft super, super helpful prompts, I'll link a video up somewhere on the screen right here. Thank you for watching.